Good afternoon, guys. We are starting the chapter 7, which is the physiology of the kidney, and we have two lectures on kidney physiology. Today is part 1, where we focus on gross and microscopic structure of kidney and some of the physiology section. Okay. And after the lecture, I will go over I saw in chat there are a lot of questions about downloading. I will go over the individual presentation. Okay, so here the learning outcomes for today's lecture is uh, we will go over the gross and microscopic structure of the urinary system, or in other words, sometimes we call it renal system. We'll focus especially on the kidney and the control of micturition. So we'll focus on the structure of and function of the kidney and the act of passing urine, which is called micturition. So there are two terminology, micturition and mensuration. Don't get confused. Micturition, micturition, and mensuration. So micturition is act of passing urine, and mensuration, everybody knows that's the every month the loss of endometrial layer from the uterus during cycle. Okay, so that we'll talk. Then we will. The kidney main function is to filter your blood. So what is the blood flow in the kidney? That's why we'll talk about tracing the flow of blood and filtrate through the kidney. So how blood filtrate, and then how blood filtered, and then how filtrate pass from your kidney through the urethra outside. Describe glomerular filtration and the structure involved. So filter is the blood filter through the blood vessel and the renal capsule. So we're going to see what are the factors, what are the structure which regulate the glomerular filtration. Okay. So glomerular filtration has several clinical significance and the factors which affect them, and we will go over them. Uh, then there are some other factors which regulate the GFR, glomerular filtration rate, and that's how it maintains the extracellular volume of fluid in your body. So which is like fluid in blood and in the interstitial space. At the same time, we will talk about some clinical application. Okay. So here is one of the clinical application. A 25-year-old woman presents to the medical office with blood in urine and dysuria. Dysuria is painful urination of 12-hour duration. She was recently married and has never had similar symptoms in the past. Okay. Uh, she has never such symptoms in the past. She denies chills and fever. So there is no chills and fever. On physical examination, she is a febrile. Febrile, that means there is no fever, has normal vital signs. That means blood pressure, pulse, respiratory rate, this heart rate, everything are within the normal range, and has mild tenderness in the midline above the pubis. So just above the symphysis pubis, there is mild tenderness when you touch and press. Her examination, urine examination, shows too many numbers to count, T and TC red blood cells. So the only thing is there is uh, hematuria. Hematuria means heme means red blood cells. Urea means urea. So if there is red blood cell in urine, that is hematuria. So with these symptoms, it looks like it's a acute lower urinary tract infection. and we will see how that happens. So there are certain conditions like female, newly married, and then no fever, no chills, but just painful urination. Okay. So before we start, let's talk about the organs of the urinary system. So the main organ of the urinary system is bean-shaped organ called kidney, which lies in the lower posterior part of your uh, abdominal cavity. So it is, if you touch your back and your last rib, which is 12th rib, and the lumbar vertebra, the joint where there is last rib and lumbar vertebra medially, that is the point of your kidney. And the size of the kidney is like your fist. So it is like 12 centimeter long, 6 wide, and 3 thick. Okay. And we have bilateral kidney. Above the kidney, you have a gland attached to it. That's why we call them suprarenal gland or adrenal gland. And then another organ is the tube, muscular tube, that is called ureter, which carry urine from kidney and it brings to the urinary bladder. This is the female urinary bladder. So you can see posterior to urinary bladder, there is uterus. Okay. There is uterus. And then this ureter joins the urethra. In female, urethra is only 4 centimeter long and which opens in the labia minora of the female genitalia. And we will talk about that in reproductive system. In male, urethra is 19 centimeter long, so which is the length of the penis. And it lies in the middle of the penis where it carry urine. Okay. So these are the organs of the renal system. The main function of the renal system is to make urine. And so to make urine, renal system, particularly the kidney, receives blood through the renal artery, which is the branch of abdominal aorta. And then it passes into the kidney, becomes small capillaries, and that capillaries feed inside the kidney, the small tubules, and that is blood vessel and the tubules together, we call them nephron. And once blood is filtered, most of the filtrate passes through this ureter, but rest of the blood enters, return back through the renal vein and join the inferior vena cava, and it goes back to your heart. Okay. So main function of the kidney, both sides, is to filter your blood. So this is like a sieve and you are connected to blood vessels. Okay. Spare kidneys are on either side of the vertebral column below diaphragm. The size is about the fist. Urine flows from kidney into ureter, which empty into bladder. Urethra drains urine from bladder. So from here, it comes outside when urinary bladder contracts. And that is the act of urination, which is called micturition. Okay. So the major function of the kidney, the main function of the kidney is to regulate plasma and interstitial fluid by formation of urine. So it regulates the volume of your blood and the fluid in the tissue, okay, directly. And it affects indirectly the intracellular fluid too. Let's see, if you have a lot of dilute fluid in the interstitial space, that will increase the fluid inside the cell too. So that's the indirect effect, but direct effect is kidney regulate extracellular fluid. Clear? That is volume of plasma, which, and you know, volume of plasma, how much plasma you have in your blood, that determines how much blood will be pumped from your heart, because that gives in diastolic volume and that determines the blood pressure. So kidney indirectly affects your blood pressure by maintaining the plasma. At the same time, kidney has also several hormone like erythropoietin, which makes help in formation of red blood cell. Kidney also is the major organ which maintains your blood pressure other way too by maintaining the other features. Okay, so that is uh, it also maintains the waste product in plasma, particularly the nitrogenous waste. So nitrogenous waste means when you eat protein, particularly the amino acid breaks down into the urea, uric acid, and creatinine. And those waste products are excreted either through your urine or through your sweating. So this is the main way of excreting the nitrogenous waste. The kidney also maintains electrolytes in your body like hydrogen ion, potassium ion, calcium, bicarbonate, sodium. They all are maintained here. Uh, it also maintains hydrogen ion, so it maintains the pH. On top of that, the kidney also does some other functions like, as I said earlier, kidney produce a hormone. Which hormone is produced by kidney?
Erythropoietin.
Erythropoietin.
EPO, erythropoietin, that stimulates red blood cell formation from your red marrow. Kidney has another hormone that is called vitamin D. So vitamin D, when you eat vitamin D, they are inactive. It goes to your uh, skin and then in your liver, and then ultimately it comes to your kidney when another enzyme activate that vitamin D, which helps turn vitamin D into active vitamin D, and that helps absorption of calcium from your GI tract and your kidney. So maintains the calcium level. Okay. So these are the function of the kidney. Okay, now kidney. The gross and microscopic structure of the kidney. Kidney has two areas, outer cortex and inner medulla. So deep is medulla. You see, very thin layer. You see here, this area, the pink outer area is the cortex of the kidney. And cortex is covered by fibrous capsule. And then outside the fibrous capsule in your abdominal cavity, there would be renal fossa and renal perirenal fat. Okay. So cortex usually contains glomerulus and a lot of small blood vessels, which is the branch of renal artery. Whereas medulla contains most of the tubules of the nephron. In the medullary region, outer part of the medulla, you have the triangular shape pyramids, whose base is facing outward and apex is here, inside, towards the medulla. This is called renal pyramids. Okay. Here are in the medulla. This is also medullary region. The base of the renal pyramid opens through small pores. Each pyramid opens through small pores through the renal papilla, that is called renal papilla. And then that renal papilla drain into a duct. So each pyramid drain into a minor duct, calyx. So that is called minor calyx. Minor calyx from several, more than one pyramid joins and forms the major calyx. So here is major calyx. And then you see here, this is the opening of such pyramid are like 9 to 18 in each kidney. Okay. And then when this pyramid opens here in the papilla through the, and then the join minor calyces, and then minor becomes major calyces. Major calyces then joins the funnel shape tube here, and that is called renal pelvis, which joins ultimately ureter, and then ureter goes downwards. Okay, so that is the gross anatomy. Let's see the model. You see here? Can you see the model? This is
Yes.
my right kidney. It go this way. Okay. So this part is the cortex. You see, cortex has a lot of blood vessels. And then you have pyramid. Then you have minor calyces. They join major calyces. You see here, major calyces. In each pyramid, there is like thousands of thousands of tubules, these white tubules, and these tubules are connected with the blood vessel. And together, these blood vessel and these tubules are called nephron. Okay. Now, once the urine passes from here in this minor calyces, major calyces, and then you see here ureter going down. So that is the structure. So let's say if we magnify one of the pyramid here, what you're going to see in the cortex, you have blood vessel, which you cannot see here, and then you have tubules. There is tubules, and then these all tubules joins the collecting duct, larger tubule, and these tubules then open into renal papilla, and renal papilla through the pores drain urine into the collecting duct, and then collecting duct joins and forms the here the minor calyces, major calyces, and then it ends. So let's see what is nephron then. So from this cortex and medulla, as I said earlier, cortex contains blood capillaries and medulla contains most of the tubular part. And both blood vessels and tubular section together, we call them the nephron. So here is one of the nephron. Let's see if we draw this nephron from here, and see. So what do we see? Here we cannot see blood vessel. When we magnify, you see here, the blood vessel is entering and then blood vessel is exiting. So how? Let me draw here so you can understand a little bit. So here, this blood vessel, I'm just gonna draw blood vessel. So here, if you have a blood vessel here, this blood vessel becomes capillaries and then exit again as a blood vessel. So this is afferent arteriole. This is efferent arteriole. And then it capsule comes here around it. So capsule is like, come here. Let me bring different color. So this is capillaries and then Bowman's capsule here. Okay, so when blood comes here, it filters and then pass into this section. So you can see here, this is the efferent arteriole, and then Bowman's capsule here. This together, this blood capillaries is called glomerulus, and with capsule together, they are called glomerular corpuscles. Okay, and now then there is the tubes. Tubes has several sections. The first tube, once this Bowman's capsule start, the first coil tube is called proximal convoluted tubule. Let's now erase it. This I want you to go home and study this structure of the nephron today if you don't know, if you have not done anatomy. Okay. So this is the proximal tubule, and then you have loop, which is called loop of Henle. Loop has descending limb, and descending has thick and thin area, and then ascending limb, thin and thick, and then again coiling, and this is called distal convoluted tubule. And then ultimately DCT joins the collecting duct. So here, let's see what is the relationship of blood vessels and the renal tubules inside the kidney. So renal tubule and associated blood vessels. Okay, so here is the area somewhere here, the cortex and medulla. So this is the cortex area, and here is medullary area. Let's see if you draw from here. Okay. So when renal artery comes, renal artery divide becomes ultimately afferent arteriole. Afferent arteriole is become capillaries, and then exit as efferent arteriole. And then Bowman's capsule comes here. It has two layers, the inner layer, which is attached to the glomerulus, and outer layer, which is outside, and then a space between. So, and then the Bowman's capsule together becomes the tube. So this is proximal convoluted tubule, loop, and distal convoluted tubule. But what happens to the efferent arteriole from here? Efferent arteriole becomes again capillaries, which wrap around the tubules. You see? So the blood capillaries, which is around the PCT and DCT, which is proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubule, we call them peritubular capillaries. But same capillaries, when it is around the loop, then we call them vasa recta. Are you following me? So everybody knows the difference between glomerulus, glomerular capsule, and the glomerular corpuscles. Blood vessel, glomerulus, this capsule, glomerular capsule or Bowman's capsule, together glomerular corpuscles. Got it? So which section of the nephron? Glomerular corpuscles or the tubules are in the cortex region?
The capsule.
Corpuscles.
Corpuscles. Good. Okay, so this is the structure, microscopic and general structure of the kidney. And you see such nephron are like in millions, several millions in each kidney. Okay. So how it makes urine, our kidney, how it makes urine? It makes by three processes. Can you read here? Nephron has three major functions through which it makes urine. That is glomerular filtration, selective reabsorption, and secretion. Are you following? Can you read it?
Yes. I
Yes.
can read
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so now what are they? Let me write down here. So here, when blood passes through your renal artery, then renal artery divide and becomes efferent arteriole. Efferent then passes here. Due to the high pressure or net filtering pressure, liquid, what does our blood vessel contains? Blood vessel contains blood, which contains red blood cell, white blood cell, platelets, blood proteins, electrolytes, and some other nutrients, gases. So all the blood vessels, when they filter, all the white blood cells and all the blood cells do not filter because the pore here is very small. So they pass down. Water passes through here, some electrolytes, some other molecules that is filtered here. So that is the first process. So we start with here. So what is the first process? We are in the tubules. Let's see, we are in the tubules. Glomerulus. And then you go down, that is filtration. So glomerulus from here is filtration. Now, once filtration happens, then what happens? Filtrate passes through the proximal tubule, loop, and distal tubule. When it filtered, like we filter about 120 liters of blood every day. Do we pee that amount? No. What happens then? Most of the fluid from here is taken back, absorbed from these tubules back into these blood capillaries. And that is called selective reabsorption. So the capillaries around these tubules take back the essential, selectively take back essential component, water and other stuff. Almost 65% of filtrate is moved from tubules into the interstitial space and then into the capillaries around here. That is called selective reabsorption. And that happens mostly in the PCT and in loop and then DCT. Okay. Secretion is just opposite of reabsorption. So what happens in secretion? Let's see one example. Some of the molecules which are waste product, large molecule, but cannot be filtered here. But we don't, our body doesn't need it. So they pass down through the efferent arteriole in the peritubular capillaries. And through the active process, using the energy, they are pumped from capillaries into the tubules. That is called secretion, like urea, potassium. They are put back into the tubules. So that is called secretion. So filtration is filter, moving from capillaries into Bowman's capsule. Absorption is taking from the tubule into the capillaries, and secretion is from capillaries into the tubules. Okay. Okay. So here is the pyelogram, like you give if you want to find out how your kidney is working, then you inject some kind of inert dye in the patient, and that dye is filtered by your kidney, and then it shows the boundary of the kidney organs, whether there is any blockage or not. So you can see how the ureter is kinking here, and this is normal. So you see minor calyces, major calyces, then renal pelvis, then ureter, then urinary bladder. This is called pyelogram. This is X-ray. Okay. Micturition reflex or urination. Bladder has a smooth muscle wall called detrusor muscle. Stretch can cause spontaneous action potential and contraction. Detrusor muscle is also innervated and controlled by parasympathetic neurons. Drugs for overactive bladder target muscarinic receptors. Okay, so the wall of bladder, let's see here. The wall of bladder is a tubular organ. So its wall is like connective tissue outside, and in the middle there is a smooth muscle. That muscle is called detrusor muscle. And then inside it is a epithelium, and that epithelium is transitional epithelium. So what happens when you have bladder full urine, that stretch the wall of the smooth muscle in the bladder wall, and that stretch then takes sensory impulse, you see, through the visceral efferent fibers of pelvic nerves. It takes to the lumbar spinal tract, then it goes to your pons in the pontine micturition center, which regulates the micturition, or just the bladder wall stretch can also initiate some of the action potential. Okay. And then once brain decides you have to pass the urine, then motor pathway start from here. And this motor, what kind of motor is somatic motor, autonomic motor?
Autonomic?
Autonomic motors, yes. So autonomic motor then through the sympathetic fibers and through the parasympathetic fibers, they come here. So parasympathetic fibers contract the bladder wall and relax the internal sphincter. You see? So parasympathetic fibers in the pelvic splanchnic nerves relax it. And then external urethral sphincter from your cerebral cortex, which is the voluntary. So you allow it to pass the urine. Let me give you an example. So when you feel like you have to go to restroom and you don't find the restroom, but you need to go, then what do? This path from your cerebral cortex, you see here, somatic motor, which is under your control, pudendal nerve, you hold on it and you constrict the external sphincter and you suppress the urge to void. But when you find the privacy, the stretch and parasympathetic is already working. So they will squeeze it, relax, already relax internal sphincter, and you allow external to relax and you pass the urine. That's how urine is passed. That's how there is urination. So when you go to restroom, you just void the urine. You never think what are the nerves, how it is going to my brain, how I'm voiding urine. To just understand the mechanism of urination. Okay. So this is all written here. You can go. Sometimes what happens in some people, the parasympathetic nerve here release neurotransmitter acetylcholine and binds with muscarinic receptor. Some people urinary bladder is very irritating or hyperactive urinary bladder. They cannot hold urine for long. Like usually 200 ml urine gives you urge to void. Okay. So if like 50 ml, 100 ml is irritating you, that means your bladder is hyperactive bladder. And these people cannot hold urine. There are neurological cause, there are genetic cause. So in that case, what is that? That means there is the parasympathetic nervous system is extra agitated. So to block that action, we give medication which blocks muscarinic receptor, and that is called anticholinergic medication. And if you take that medication, that goes away. That's the treatment, pharmacologic treatment. Okay. This is all what I have said is written here. You can read it. Okay, microscopic structure of the kidney. We talked about it. I don't think we have to spend time here. Okay, renal blood vessels. So what are the blood vessels which pass through the kidney? Here you go. I'm going to go here and then I will come here. So you see, renal artery, which is the branch of abdominal aorta, passing here, and then it divides. It divides into the segmental arteries, and then it goes into lobar, and then lobular, and then it becomes arcuate, and then interlobular, and then that becomes the afferent arteriole. So here, this is same thing, and here is. So you start from aorta. I don't want you to remember them all, the level which they form, but it is better for your future. Okay, so abdominal aorta, branching, renal artery, then segmental artery. Segmental artery is like going through the each uh, inside the pyramid. Interlobar artery. So if you go interlobar artery here, do we have here? No, it is not. Here is interlobar artery. Yeah. So interlobar artery runs between the pyramid. And then arcuate artery, which is arc around the here. In this model, I can show you. These are the arcuate artery. Can you see it? And from the arcuate artery, cortical radiate artery. You see, these arteries are radiating. These are the cortical radiate artery. And then cortical radiate artery, you see a small branching that becomes the afferent arteriole. Afferent arteriole become the mass of capillaries that is called glomerulus. What is covered? What covers this glomerulus?
The Bowman's capsule.
The Bowman's capsule. And then this glomerulus exit in the form of efferent arteriole, and then efferent arteriole again branch and become capillaries. The peritubular capillaries are around the proximal and distal tubule, and vasa recta is around the loop. Then same way they again join, forms cortical radiate vein, arcuate vein, interlobar vein, renal vein, and inferior vena cava which joins your heart. Okay. So nephrons, the nephrons are the working unit of your kidney, or we call it structural and functional unit of the kidney. Okay. Nephron has tubular part, which begins with glomerular capsule, which is start from here, which begins with glomerular capsule. Now glomerular capsule then transition into proximal convoluted tubule, PCT, this area. Then to descending and ascending loop, and then DCT, which ultimately drains into the collecting duct. This collecting duct opens into renal papilla into the minor calyces. Okay. And tubules ends where it empties into the collecting duct. Again, you can see this is one of the glomerular corpuscle here, Bowman's capsule, glomerulus, afferent, and then efferent. In our kidney, we have two kinds of nephrons. You see here in this diagram, this is one nephron, here is another nephron. There is tiny many others, but let's compare this nephron and this nephron. What do you see differences?
One is closer to the renal cortex, and one is a little farther away.
Yeah, so here in first part here, this nephron, most of the part of this nephron is in the cortex. 2/3 of his parts are in the cortex. That's why we call them cortical nephron. And this nephron has 2/3 part, particularly in the medulla or near the medulla. That's why we call them juxtamedullary nephron. The juxtamedullary nephron has big role in concentrating your urine. So if you have to absorb most of the water and put into your blood, this is the nephron works. So let's see camel. Camel drinks once a month, but they can recycle same water again and again. So which nephron you think camel has to have more? Anybody?
The juxtamedullary.
Yes, juxtamedullary, because juxtamedullary reabsorb most of the fluid from the filtrate and put into blood. So you can recycle same water again and again. You pee very little. That is the function of, so cortical and juxtamedullary nephron have long loop, important in producing concentrated urine. Okay, now proximal convoluted tubule. So what is the main function of the proximal convoluted tubule? Reabsorption. That's why whenever you need to absorb, you need a lot of microvillus. So wall of proximal convoluted tubule. Let's see if you have wall of proximal. Let's see, this is the proximal convoluted tubule here. And in the tubular wall, you have cells. Yes. So this cell has two surfaces. This surface is basal surface and this surface is basolateral surface. So when fluid comes here, they pass through this cell, first in the cell, then it comes into this interstitial space and then nearby blood vessel. Okay? And that is called reabsorption. So walls, the cells in the wall of proximal tubules have microvilli. Their plasma membrane has foldings. There is a lot of microvilli. You're going to see better diagram next in next slide. I'm just letting you know when urine filtrate passage into proximal convoluted tubule, there's a lot of microvilli. So large surface area. That's why they absorb everything and then put into interstitial space and then into the capillaries. Okay, so walls consist of single layer of cuboidal cells with millions of microvilli, which increase surface area of the reabsorption. During reabsorption, salt, water, and other molecules needed by the body are transported from the lumen from here through the tubular cell into the surrounding capillaries. But before that, they come here into the interstitial space. Okay. Okay, so let's go and see now the we'll talk about these a lot in the next slide, next section. Okay. Now, glomerular filtration in the glomerulus. So you have efferent arteriole, and you see the goldy color membrane attached to it. That is the visceral layer of the Bowman's capsule. This is the parietal layer of glomerular capsule, and this goldy layer is visceral layer. And the cells of this visceral layer is called podocyte of visceral layer of glomerular capsule. So when blood afferent arteriole feeding these capillaries, due to the pressure, net filtration pressure, what happens? From these capillaries, through these capillaries are highly porous. You see pores inside, a lot of holes. They pass through the capillary endothelium, and then it passes through the filtration slit formed by the cells of the visceral layer of Bowman's capsule. So visceral layer of Bowman's capsule, let's see if there is, let's see this is a blood vessel. And then my hands are visceral podocytes of my So they interdigitate, and they're like finger like this filtration slit they make, a filtration slit. You see here? So blood from here passes here through the blood vessel endothelial wall, plasma membrane. Through the pores, it comes out. And then there is glomerular basement membrane. They pass through basement membrane. And then through the filtration slit of the podocytes. Once it passed through this one, where does it go? Here in the space. Bowman's space. And then it goes to the proximal and distal tubule. Okay. When you have diabetes or glomerulonephritis, these filtration slits are damaged. And blood vessels are also damaged. So your protein can easily leak from blood vessel here into these tubules and then spill into your urine, and that is your proteinuria. Okay. So glomerular filtration, plasma protein are mostly excluded from the filtrate because of large size and negative charge. So what are filtered? The most of the things are spared, like blood cells and large proteins. The slit diaphragm are lined with negative charge, which repel negatively charged protein. Protein are negative charge, and slit diaphragms have also negative charge. So negative charge repel. That's why they do not pass through that. It remains in the blood vessel. Some protein, particularly albumin, normally enters the filtrate. Sometimes the protein, albumin can enter. But what happens? Albumin is needed for our body. So we reabsorb back into the tubules by receptor-mediated endocytosis. Defect in the slit diaphragm results in massive leakage of protein in the filtrate, and that is called proteinuria. Okay, this is electron micrograph of the podocytes. You see, branching of pedicles and the filtration slit they form. Okay, so formation of glomerular ultrafiltrate. You see here, apparent arteriole is bringing the blood, and blood contains some solid particles and some protein particles. You see, proteins are coming and then going back through the efferent arteriole. But some of the other particle like electrolytes and other stuff, they can be filtered and passed to the proximal tubule. Glomerular filtration rate means how much our kidney filter. So glomerular filtration rate is a volume of filtrate produced by both kidneys in 1 minute or per minute. Okay, this line is called per minute. Per minute means in 1 minute, both kidney. Average is 115 ml per minute in women and 125 ml per minute in men. Totals about 180 liter per day, 180 liter per day, which is 45 gallons. But that filtrate, as I said earlier, not all the filtrate pass down in the urine because most of them reabsorb. So most filtrate water must be reabsorbed, or if you pee that amount, there will be death, okay, through the urination. Regulation of GFR. So how much we filter. Let's see, if we drink a lot, we're going to filter more. If we drink less, then we're going to filter less. But to survive, there should be physiological amount of filtration all the time to maintain the homeostasis of your body. Okay, so our body, our autonomic nervous system, and our self autoregulatory mechanism in the kidney maintains the normal homeostasis of GFR. Okay, so GFR is controlled by extrinsic and intrinsic mechanism. Extrinsic mechanism is when sympathetic and parasympathetic autonomic nervous system is involved and regulating the flow of blood. So how you think you can regulate the flow of blood to the kidney? What you need to pinpoint? What do you have to manage?
The dilation and constriction of them.
Dilation and constriction of the afferent arteriole. Very good. So if you constrict the afferent arteriole, the flow will be less in the kidney or in the nephron. If you dilate the afferent arteriole, you increase the flow in that. And that's how sympathetic nervous system do. It increase or decrease the flow. Okay, so both vasoconstriction or dilation of afferent arteriole affects the rate of blood flow to glomeruli, and that's why it affects GFR. So let's see, here you go, let's go back. So let's see, this is the afferent arteriole. Keeping the efferent arteriole diameter same, and if I increase the diameter here, what happens? More blood will come here, more pressure, hydrostatic pressure will be, and more will be filtration. If I constrict and keeping the efferent same, less blood will come, less pressure will maintain, less filtration will be there. Okay. So here, how that happens. Normally, it is always happening in our body. But let's say all of a sudden you have reduced blood pressure. For example, you are from lying down, you are standing and your blood pressure drops, or you are exercising. Those drop in blood pressure, which is detected by baroreceptors in the blood vessel wall, or exercise, that activates your sympathetic nerve activity. And you know sympathetic nerve activity increase your heart rate and force of contraction. That's why cardiac output. Sympathetic nervous system also constrict blood vessel in skin and GI tract, and vasoconstriction of afferent arteriole in the kidney. So if you have vasoconstriction in the kidney, that will be reduced GFR, reduce urine production, and ultimately you'll keep blood volume, and that's why you increase the blood volume and blood pressure. And total peripheral resistance is also increased in that case if you have vasoconstriction. That's how it maintains sympathetic nervous system. Okay. Now autoregulation. Okay, renal autoregulation, which is intrinsic. This is the absolute inherent characteristic of the smooth muscle wall of the afferent arteriole. Okay, so this is defined as the ability of the kidney to maintain relatively constant GFR in the face of fluctuating BP. So let's see, if the BP is fluctuating, it is not only sympathetic nervous system will act, your own afferent arteriole also will act. And there is two mechanisms responsible for that: myogenic constriction of afferent arteriole due to a smooth muscle responding to an increase in arterial pressure. And to do that, that function is achieved by tubuloglomerular feedback. And we're going to talk about that in next the lecture, which is the renin angiotensin aldosterone system, RAS system, and that maintains your blood pressure. Okay, so here is the regulation of glomerular filtration, sympathetic nervous system, and autoregulation. You can go over them. And this is renal autoregulation, GFR. So like if your blood pressure is from a mean arterial pressure from like 40, 120, 40. So if your blood pressure is from 80 to around 160, renal autoregulation, if fluctuating in this area, your own renal autoregulation will maintain your blood pressure. But if it is higher, then it cannot. Then you need treatment. That's abnormal condition. So this is all, guys, for the first part of the renal system today. And rest we're going to talk next time on him. And in the I have posted your the semester and physiology individual presentation. I have posted in your module in the Canvas this week module. If you go there, check, there is handout, you can download them. And I have also announced, and I saw some of you cannot download from there. So it doesn't matter if you cannot download from there. you can download from the Canvas in your assignment from the module. Everyone can download from there.
Professor,
Mhm.
yesterday I tried to download it from the assignments and the module, but it didn't let me do it from there either.
What does it say? Is it the device problem or it is?
It says I don't have access to it. It says I need your permission to download it.
Really?
It
Yeah.
says that for me too, but someone posted a link in the chat and that link worked.
Okay,
I don't see the link.
let me show you here. I think it works. Let's see.
It doesn't work for me either. I don't see the link in the chat.
Which section are
I
you
don't see
guys?
the link in the chat either.
Which section you are? 1986 or 1987?
7.
7.
Okay, let me see here then. I'm gonna share this with you guys. Stop share and then share new. Okay, so you guys see, and let me see like a student view. So here we are, week 10. This is individual presentation, yes? Okay, I'm opening here. Oh.
I
it
just
was downloading as a .html.
I just put in the chat if anyone wants it.
There is some problem, yes.
I don't think it's a PDF to download. That's why.
No, I have PDF to download. And this is Word, not PDF.
It still asks for permission.
Yeah, I can. I can download here as Word. Okay, so let's see a student view again. What happens with this one? Yeah, I think I have to work on it. When I'm trying to download as a student, I cannot. When I download myself, I can it. Okay. After the lab, I'm gonna work on it.
Thank you.
But before that, you guys, everybody needs to email me the topic, which topic you want to present. Okay. So just send me, and you have, I think, a week for that too. So you don't need to be hasty. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Shah.
Thank you, Dr. Shah.